Welcome to Football on the Street. On today's edition, we're bringing you abreast with some of the new rules the Premier League has addressed itself with. You know, in the wake of last weekend Premier League matches, we have a lot of complaints for football fans who have come to complain some of the decisions made by the football referees. Now, in this video, we are going to give you some of the insight on the new rules and why some of the referees' decisions have looked so harsh to us, the football fans. So, I want you to sit down, watch this video to the end, and you're going to learn more from us here on Football on the Street. And if you are just joining this channel for the first time, I want you to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, like our video, share, drop your comment, turn on the notification button so that you always be the first to know whenever we drop a new video right here on Football on the Street. Now, let's go back to business. You know, in the wake of last season's competition, a lot of complaints came from football fans, ranging from time wasting of football players, coaches coming to the touchline to have some kind of orchestration with opposition managers and alike. Now, the Premier League, in its knowledge, has bring some of the new rules to help us curb some of those menace and reduce a lot of time wasting in football. And first on those rules is a change on offside rule. Now, necessarily, this is not a new rule because the rule was effective throughout the whole of last season, but it has officially been put down into writing, and the Premier League has mandated that this rule is being followed. Now, the new rule states that the new offside rule, it states that a player who is offside will not necessarily become onside every time if an opposition player gets in contact with the ball. Now, this means that if a player is standing in an offside position and then the opposition player gets a touch to the ball before the player comes, you know, normally the player is supposed to become onside now, but the FA has said that it is not going to be every time. So this has to do with referee's decision, intention, and other factors that will be put in check. And we could take instances that for last season, the Manchester Derby return leg at Etihad Stadium between Manchester United and Man City, where Marcus Rashford had a dub on Aymeric Laporte for his goal against his equalizer against Manchester City. If it is this season, the goal will be disallowed. So what the Premier League is saying that if you are offside and an opposition player gets to touch the ball and the ball comes towards your way, normally you are supposed to become onside, but now it has said that the rule has changed. You cannot become onside every time the opposition player touches the ball. That's the new rule for the offside rule. This is going to cause a lot of heat, we know, as far as the game is going to keep on going throughout the season. Another place in the game of football where the rule has changed is also in denying goal opportunity. Now, in past years, if a player is through on goal on a 1v1 situation with a last man standing defender, any touch by the defender to bring down the player is always a red card, a send off straight. But the new rule states that if a player is through on goal with a 1v1 situation in the last man standing position, a foul before a card will be given to that opposition player. First, the foul will be deemed if it is intentional or not intentional. There will be a check on the intention of the foul, how loud it was. So for this kind of situation, before a player will be given a red card, as from this season onward, is that it has to be a pull, a push, or a tackle that needs to send somebody into a coma. Like, it has to be a harsh tackle before such a player will be sent off. But generally, before now, we know that a last man tackle is always a straight red. But things has changed currently in the Premier League, and it is no longer going to be like that. So I think some of the defenders will be very happy that at times there will be conditions to be looked into, and it is not necessarily going to be every time there will be awarded a red card. For me, this is not a good rule. Players will take advantage of it and they will commit a lot of fouls and then begin to make statements upon statement against the referee after the game is concluded. Rule number 3 is goalkeeper sportsmanship. This one is the rule I call the Emiliano Martinez rule, because I think it is due to Martinez antics that brought about this rule. Who will remember the 2022 FIFA World Cup final game against Argentina against France? We could see that the Argentine goalkeeper's antics during the penalty shootout was famous, and that was one of the things that gave the Argentines the 2022 World Cup in a fierce final. Now, those kind of antics produced by Martinez in the 2022 World Cup has now been deemed illegal in the game of football. So goalkeepers are no longer allowed to make some of those football antics again. For instance, a goalkeeper is not allowed to run to and fro to touch the crossbar or shake the net, or to go on to welcome an opposition player coming to play the penalty. A goalkeeper is no longer allowed to touch the ball before an opposition player touches the ball. And some of those antics on taking a jibe on player who is coming to take a penalty is no longer allowed. If any goalkeeper does that, the goalkeeper is sent off immediately. So for me, this is a good rule that will reduce a lot of goalkeepers' antics. Some of those antics are very, very annoying. Let's be truthful to ourselves. Like the likes of Emiliano Martinez, I won't lie to you, it was very, very annoying of him during the 2022 FIFA World Cup, and he braced himself, and I think his behavior is what has resulted to this rule. Goalkeepers are no longer allowed to take those antics. You cannot run to welcome the opposition player coming to play the penalty kick. There's no need of you wasting time touching the crossbar or going to shake on the net in order to just to put some kind of fear in the player who is coming to take the penalty. So it is a good rule for me. It is something that is going to help us curb a lot of football fear in players who are coming to take decisive penalty kicks. Where the rule has also changed is in time wasting. This one is something I love very well, because an average last season, if a football match, ball was kept in play for an average of just 54 minutes 9 seconds out of a possible 90 minutes. So in view of the Premier League to increase gameplay in the game of football, it has been dubbed that every time wasting will be punished. You know, before now, goalkeepers are used to wasting time when their team is leading towards injury time. They tend to delay time. Goalkeepers and players alike. So they'll be shown that is when they're always normally being shown a yellow card or a red card. But this season, the new rule states that at any point in the game whereby a player decides to waste time, that player is definitely going to be punished. An example can be seen in the weekend game against Chelsea, where Trent Alexander-Arnold was yellow carded for wasting time in throw. All of you who watched that game could remember Alexander-Arnold was yellow carded for time wasting while he was supposed to throw the ball. Necessarily before referees awarded card for time wasting is always due when it is injury time. But now at any point in the game, the referee will decide if you are wasting time. The referee will dish out a yellow card for you. Take for instance, not just taking throwing. Maybe there's a free kick to play and then you decide to block the player who's supposed to take a free kick. You are going to be yellow carded. If the referee blows his whistle and you kick the ball out of the field in anger or annoyance, a yellow card will definitely be dished out to you. This is just a way to curb the menace of time wasting and increase gameplay. And also in view of that time wasting, and not in view of not wasting much time in the Premier League, the Premier League in its knowledge has also resolved that some of those fouls that are not deemed contactful, much more contactful, will not be blown. That is, before a free kick will be given out, the tackle must be more of a contact tackle that will ensure some kind of formidability that has to make players, maybe the tackle has to be harsh or rash, tending to send player to serious injury before some of those free kicks. This is an attempt to reduce free kicks and improve game play. The Premier League has also stated that time will be added for time wasted during goal celebration, free kicks decision, penalty decisions, and also goal kick retrievers. So that is, this season we are going to see a lot of much more of extra added time than we've seen. It is going to be similar to that of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, whereby time were definitely always awarded in most matches. I think the game between England and Iran in the 2022 World Cup lasted about 117 minutes without them going into extra time. Just normal time of playing lasted 117 minutes. We are going to be seeing more of that in the Premier League. So the Premier League needs to acknowledge that for every goal celebration, for every free kick that is awarded, every free kick decisions, time wasted by VAR, they will all be added in gameplay, so that we got to maximize the 90 minutes of the gameplay we have been playing before. This is a good thing for me, but it's also on the disadvantages of the players, because they are going to be so fatigued. Imagine playing 117 minutes in a back-to-back minutes in the when the Champions League return. Players are going to play football game every 3 days. So playing 117 minutes every 3 days as a football player, evidently that is why we have seen the injury popping up just at the beginning of this season. The Premier League has recorded 5 serious injuries, and out of those 5, 4 has been ACL injuries. So it tells you that this season is going to be tedious, and squad depth is definitely needed by every team in the Premier League. Another rule that has changed for this season is also players and managers' behavior. You know, if you watch throughout the last season, we could see the likes of Jurgen Klopp antics on the pitch. We could see Mikel Arteta always waving his arm towards the referee, and we could see Pep Guardiola with his jinx on the touchline. Now, this season, as a manager's behavior, this season, manager and players' behavior, that's where another rule has changed. Now, the Premier League, in its knowledge, has also come to give us a new rule in the manager aspect, that managers are no longer allowed to obstruct or call on referees. Any attempt for a manager to call on referees, definitely the manager is going to be shown a straight yellow card, and if he persists, a red card will be shown to that manager. That is to say, this season would no longer see the likes of Jurgen Klopp running towards the length and breadth of the pitch to complain. We'll no longer see Mikel Arteta waving his hand towards the referee, and we'll no longer see the jinx from Pep Guardiola, who is always making some comic actions while on the touchline. The rule also states that managers are no longer allowed to walk towards or by the touchline of an opposition manager. I think this is very necessary, considering what happened between Jurgen Klopp and Antonio Conte last season. You could see altercation between the both managers was something that was very that made headlines throughout the whole of last season, and it's something the Premier League has tried to curb. So in an attempt for any manager to also call out a referee's decision, that manager will also will be given a yellow card. If it's deemed being sent off, the manager will be sent off. And now, if a manager is sent off, he has no right to sit anywhere near the dugout to watch the game. The manager will be heading straight to the dressing room to forfeit that match. Now, for players' behavior, it has come in recent time. We've seen players always demanding for yellow cards for opposition players when being fouled, and we've seen a lot of things happening in the game of football. For as far as this season is concerned, the Premier League, in its knowledge, has made it fixed that any player who demands for a card from a referee for an opposition player will be shown a yellow card instead. This is very visible in the match week 1 of the Premier League this season, because we saw it come into play with the likes of McAllister being yellow carded for demanding a yellow card on a foul that was made for him in a game against Liverpool, in a game against Chelsea this weekend. We could also see Dominic Szoboszlai. He was also yellow carded for also demanding a yellow card for a foul on him this weekend. We are going to be seeing much more of that this season. Even Mikel Arteta was also yellow carded in his game in the game against Nottingham Forest for demanding a yellow card for a foul on the on Bukayo Saka. So a lot of things is going to change in the Premier League this season, just in a way to call players and coaches disturbances alike. So behavior of players will be scrutinized this season, and that is going to be increased in yellow card, and is also going to improve discipline in players. I feel this rule is going to be improved discipline in players, and players will be kept at bay from making some of those remarks and antics they make on the pitch. Let's see how this rule is going to pan out, how it's going to work out this season. And the last rule that has made more importantly, which for me is one of the rule I've always wanted the Premier League to imbibe, is that they have made a rule concerning players crowding referees. You know, in recent times we could see players always crowding referees just to get a decision in their favor. This is so much this is even of recent. Last season in the game between Manchester City and Liverpool, you could see the way Liverpool players crowded referee Simon Hopper on Rodri's tackle on Thiago Alcantara. It was so disturbing and annoying, even though towards the end of last season Liverpool were fined for crowding the referee and making serious complaint. This season, we are no longer going to be waiting for FA to make decision. The referee has been given permission to dish out yellow card to as many as how many players that come crowding him in the game of football. So if a referee decision is taken and players rush towards the referee, crowding him, demanding response to what is going on, those players will be yellow carded as many as the referee wants. He's going to dish out yellow card to those kind of players. For me, this is going to keep to be some of those football antics with players always even trying to force referee to give out decision that he is not supposed to give. This is a very good rule. It is something I am impressed about, and I wanted to keep to say. Another aspect of that rule is that if a player has to run a long distance to come towards the referee to demand for an action or a decision, that player will also be shown a yellow card. So for instance, last season, Southampton's Mario Lemina was yellow carded for running a long distance towards a referee, Anthony Taylor. He was yellow carded. So even as much as the football world went agog, making serious statement that the yellow card was harsh, this season it has been put into the rule. So we should expect more of that to come. Players will be yellow carded for offenses they didn't even commit just by making actings. So what if that is what the Premier League has said? I want you to put yourself abreast with some of these new rules so that you are going to argue your football correctly. Now, before I leave, I want to ask you, what do you think about the new rule? Are there rules that are standard? Are there rules that will make the beautiful game of football flow? Do you love it? Are you against it? Tell us why you like it. Tell us why you're against it. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your comment on the comment section. I will continue from there. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you always turn on the notification button and you always get everything we have here for you every time. Until then,